Hi everyone, I'm Rob Scott from CX Today, and if there's one question CX leaders are being asked more than ever, it's this: how does improving customer experience actually improve the bottom line? So today we're going to go beyond satisfaction scores to talk about measurable business impact. How can brands connect feedback directly to financial outcomes like retention, loyalty, and of course, revenue growth? So joining me to unpack the ROI of Unified Experience Management is Josie Gaeckle, the Senior Vice President of Client Insights at SMG. Josie, welcome. It's great to have you here.
Thanks so much, Rob. It's great to be here.
Well, let's get the conversation started, Josie. I mean, every CX leader wants to prove the financial impact of their programs, but it's often quite difficult, isn't it? So why is measuring CX return on investment, or ROI, still such a challenge for many organizations?
Yes, it is a great question. I think there are a couple reasons why ROI remains today a challenge for so many organizations. One of them is organizational silos, lack of cross-functional sharing and alignment around CX initiatives overall. And the other is probably more I'll call it the analytical maturity or formal framework and process for tracking and measuring the impact of CX initiatives. So related to the organizational silos, I think most organizations measure the customer experience in one department and the employee experience in another, the brand experience in a third department. And so these efforts are being measured and operationalized in silos. And then, we've got our frontline teams who are reporting and tracking these things and creating action plans for them separate altogether. So that just makes it difficult to connect customer behavior and employee sentiment, and then, of course, to the financial outcomes that are most important. In many cases, organizations are tracking the perception metrics like satisfaction without actually linking it to an operational or a transactional data to begin with. So I think that, the operational silos then blended with the ability to bridge the gap between what do customers say, what are employees feeling, along with what's actually happening, like the purchase frequency, churn, spend, and advocacy really requires integration of all the data, right? And analytical maturity, also combined with what I like to call a formalized accountability framework. The ability for you to measure the impact of your CX or your EX initiatives across the organization with, what did we actually get from that? So, at SMG, we believe that, unifying all those data models is really what helps you get there, because even the best metrics, if tracked well, are just anecdotal. So really, connecting those touch points and then, of course, breaking down those organizational silos so that you can track the impact at a financial standpoint from your CX actions is really going to have the biggest impact.
Yeah, easier said than done, I can imagine. But
Absolutely.
how does unified experience management then help bridge, that gap between feedback and financial performance? Can you walk us through it?
Absolutely. A unified experience management platform really brings all the data together, brings together the customer, the employee, and the brand feedback into a single view. We call it the experience ecosystem. And when you can bring the streams of feedback together and analyze them together, an organization can see the relationship between how an employee engagement impacts service consistency or how digital friction impacts conversion, right? I think we all fundamentally, and most leaders truly believe that if I have a better employee experience and my employees are happier, right, my customers will probably be happier. And yeah, I'll probably see an actual impact on financials. But bringing the data together in a single ecosystem actually allows us to move from those anecdotes and theories into actual analytics, making that experience data actionable so that you're tying it to revenue. I say that all CX leaders should have a great ROI statement, a simple one. We should know as a business, if we improve CX by this is our financial outcome. Bringing all that data together gives you then a unified, even bigger picture of here's the financial impact of employee, customer, and brand all together. So it closes the loop, turns those signals into actual measurable change so that your goal isn't better feedback, but instead greater business outcomes.
So it feels like a little bit, I suppose, we're going way beyond, your classic kind of, CSAT scores and NPS metrics here. So what are some of the most meaningful kind of metrics CX leaders should be tracking when they're trying to kind of show that meaningful business impact?
Sure. Ideally, the metrics that they're looking for aren't actual experience metrics, but they're business outcome metrics. Right? They're the business outcome metrics that are the ones that business is most focused on today, right? So, measuring customer satisfaction, measuring NPS, and, stated loyalty, those are good measures. They're better if they link to your important financial outcomes, right? The ones that your business is focused on improving the most. And if they're the ones that you see a link between improved customer perceptions of this thing with a financial outcome, which might vary based on the industry that you're in. So it's hard to say NPS is better or CSAT is better, which we know is a controversial debate ongoing between which metric is best, but it's really the one that links to financials the strongest for you. And then ideally, CX leaders are actually focused on metrics like retention, lifetime value, share of wallet, or today in the AI world, when most businesses are focused on how do we reduce cost to serve or increase efficiency, maybe that's one that, right, that CX leaders should be thinking about as well. These metrics reveal how experiences translate to financial performance. So, and that's the metric that the finance team and the executives are really going to care more about.
And that does kind of make logical sense, right? To tie revenue metrics and operational metrics with, CX metrics, but it is about connecting those dots ultimately, isn't it? Moving this on a step, many companies are kind of moving from kind of descriptive analytics to more predictive analytics nowadays. So how does that evolution change the way CX leaders, prove that return on investment?
Absolutely. Predictive analytics allows CX leaders to forecast what may happen based on the changes that they're going to make. And this gets us to, instead of reacting, right? CX being a reactive, hey, this is what we saw our customers experience, to modeling the what if scenarios. I mentioned ROI statements earlier. I think it's great for every CX leader to have an ROI statement, a known ROI statement that is more of this predictive measure, to say, I know that if I increase the improvement or the digital ease of use by 10%, I'm going to see an increase in conversion by Y, right? This is if I'm the digital CX leader for the business, that's my ROI statement based on, what I know about my CX, about my financials and the linkage that I've done that helps me justify the investment into, the digital platform and improving the ease of use. So it really makes it more forward looking, more quantifiable, gives executives greater confidence in investing in what's, where those priorities should fall. And so I just recommend that every CX team leverage that, model the ROI of both CX and EX investments. And, there are a lot of things that can influence actual impact. So that's where I'll bring back the idea of that accountability framework. It's great to have that predictive statement that's, hey, if we increase, we'll go to the digital ease of use example. If we increase digital ease of use by 10%, we could see an increase in conversion. If we test some things on the digital platform, what do we actually see in digital ease of use? And is that actually proving out the way that we hoped? And then, implementing a good test and learn model with our teams cross-functionally will also help us just get smarter and be able to measure those experience improvements over time for the maximum ROI.
Got it. It's all starting to click into place. So can you share a real example of a brand that successfully tied all this together, improving everything and getting those measurable results like cost to, moving the needle on cost to serve, retention, and ultimately revenue growth?
Yeah, absolutely. Every year at SMG, we celebrate our clients who are able to do that successfully, that are able to tie the measurement of the customer's experience with actual financial results and to see them play out. Sally Beauty was one of our retail winners last year. They know that, a great experience is key to greater financial results, but they wanted a way to help the front line get on board with improving the service experience, which is harder for frontline, right, hourly employees to understand what's in it for them to provide a better service experience. So they partnered with our insights team, and we were able to show them which associate behaviors had the greatest impact on improving conversion and improving average spend or ticket on that visit. And so with that information, to understand that, these are the associate behaviors that impact spend the most on that visit, Sally Beauty was able to develop a training program specifically related to those, a campaign called What's Your Formula to encourage associates to participate with some action plans tracking this progress. And from that, because they had a good accountability framework measuring what's the impact of these initiatives, they were able to see both improvements in satisfaction, in execution of those associate behaviors, and of course of that average spend and the sales results as well. So that's a simple example that I think is a really good one in the retail space for also translating it to the folks that are in charge of implementing and doing the day-to-day action that aren't necessarily the same folks who are coming up with the grand CX plans at the home office. And it's still relating to that meaningful business result and ROI.
Yeah, and that does make good sense. And what I'm interested in understanding more about is when organizations align, customer experience with finance and operations, what kind of collaboration does that actually require? And how can leaders build, that internal case for continued investment?
Sure. It's really all about the cross-functional collaboration across departments. And I think it starts with a shared goal and a shared language, right? For finance, their partnership is going to be key to help you as a CX leader quantify the impact of your initiatives. They're needed in terms of sharing the data, right? That you're going to need to run these models. And they're going to be really helpful for CX leaders who want to make sure the financial metrics that they're looking at are also the ones that the business leaders are most focused on as well. So that partnership with finance is going to be key. From operations, the operations team, they are going to be the ones that are communicating this, right, to the front line. They're going to be the ones who are executing the change. And the CX team is really best served to be the connective tissue that helps to interpret the why and track the outcomes, get finance's partnership on modeling potentially. And so, we talked about cross-functional collaboration early on in terms of what's so important for ROI. The most successful CX programs I see at SMG, they have a single performance narrative. They span all three departments. Everybody's aligned on this is our ROI statement. We have a shared scorecard linking our KPIs with our growth targets. And that collaboration often does require a cultural change, as you mentioned. We often talk about democratizing the data, right? We need to share the data. It needs to be transparent. And that way, it can help inform day-to-day business making changes across the business.
Well, there's lots to figure out there, isn't it? But tons of opportunity. So my final question for today is, looking ahead into 2026, what new methods or tech will help CX leaders better kind of quantify that return on investment of their programs? What do you think?
Well, Rob, I would be remiss to not talk about AI if you're going to talk about technology in 2026. So, we're entering an era of intelligent experience orchestration. I expect broader use of AI agents. Like at SMG, we have the knowledge agent to analyze unstructured feedback and help deliver on what are the specific actions and levers to pull that'll have the greatest financial impacts. I think of, journey analytics, integrating all the data that businesses have into a single decision layer, right? And of course, prescriptive AI isn't just going to help predict things, but recommend the next best actions. So if it's operators or frontline teams, to get the most meaningful ROI, it's really important that everyone's acting on the feedback. And so what AI can help us do is really be prescriptive in helping to determine what are the actions that we should take and which ones will have the biggest impact on ROI across the business. So I think in 2026, ideally, we're beyond proving the ROI of CX, but instead collecting more data and automating that connection, automating and prescribing action across the different business areas so that you can get that performance in real time, allowing teams to focus on more of the doing and the action versus the business justification of doing so.
Yeah, I think it's probably one of the most exciting times ever. If you're an experienced leader, there's nothing better, is there? There's tons of opportunity to really bring all this together now and make real sense of it, and deliver those fantastic experiences across every touch point. So amazing. Well, I'm afraid that's all we've got time for, Josie. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a great conversation.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate it.
And to our audience, what's clear is that experience management isn't just about listening, is it? It's about connecting every piece of feedback to measurable business outcomes. And for CX leaders trying to make that connection, unified data and AI-driven insight makes all the difference. So if you'd like to learn more about how SMG's Ignite platform links experience improvement to financial performance, head to smg.com. I'm Rob Scott from CX Today. Thanks for watching.